Hello, James here. I hope you guys are. Whoops, get my mic here. I hope you guys are doing okay. Uh, I, I'm. I got something I want to show you, and this is to my black immigrant counterparts that's around the world, and but I know some of you don't feel this way, but it's some of the ones that come to America, and when something's happened to us, as some people happen to American black people, you tend to think that it's our fault. You tend to think that what we making up to you is that whatever it is, we live in the past. You tend to think that some of the things that, because the demographic and the crime and the education, and that we've been here long enough, that it must be you. It must that you must be lazy. You must be you haven't contributed anything. And there's some people that come with that mindset. And it's not just you. There's other immigrants too. Some immigrants. Some. I'm using the word some. Now, I'm going to show you something. But when you come to America, you think the grass is greener on the other side. Well, I'm about to show you some people who they had a good nature. They follow all the rules. They get around these certain folks. So I'm going to share 5 stories with you about 5 immigrant families that were killed. And they weren't killed by black Americans. No. They weren't killed by black Americans. They weren't uneducated black Americans that some of the elders in the community told you stay away from. This is in areas where you moved out in some parts of the United States. First case I'm going to talk there's a couple of gentlemen that came from the Caribbean. There's a couple of cases of people that came from Ethiopia, a Senegalese family, and I'm going to let you hear this story. And I might do this, I think I'm going to do this one, and this guy from the Congo. He's Congolese. They live in the most nicest area in the country. Stories out of Michigan, Colorado, Washington State, in Texas. Guess who did the murder? It wasn't black Americans. Watch this. First case. This guy name is you heard about this one. His family's from St. Croix. The cop that shot him, good Christian young man. He's a good Christian young man. Never had a record or anything.
And I shot a guy thinking it was my apartment. He shot someone? Yes, I thought it was my apartment. Oh my God.
Within approximately 4 minutes of the 911 call, multiple Dallas police officers responded to the scene.
4th floor, apartment 1478.
There was obviously a sense of urgency.
The actual shooting location was Southside Flats.
Go.
And it's literally 100 to 150 feet from the curb of the Dallas Police headquarters.
Honey. Over here.
Okay, go ahead and talk.
No, it's me. I'm off duty. I thought they were in my apartment. I thought this was my floor.
When officers arrived to the apartment, they're met by Amber Geiger. She's a police officer with the Dallas Police Department. She's off duty.
I thought it was my apartment.
Where's she shot at?
The top left.
Where a 26-year-old African-American male is lying on the ground,
He's not African
critically
American.
wounded from a gunshot to the chest.
Start CPR.
He is, in fact, the occupant of that apartment where he is found
He's
shot.
from St. Croix. He's Caribbean.
The victim, gravely injured and clinging to life, is 26-year-old
Botham Jean.
While first responders rush into a local hospital, Officer Amber Geiger is placed in a squad car as investigators try to piece together what unfolded.
The initial information given by Officer Geiger was that she thought this was her apartment and then she shot a man. And I'm thinking, how can you go to the wrong apartment? How do you not know where you live? We found 2 fired cases in the kitchen. There were 2 shots fired. One struck the wall over the sofa. The other struck Botham Jean. Nothing indicated that he had a weapon. All the evidence suggests that he was sitting at his sofa, watching television, working on his computer, and eating a bowl of ice cream.
As they continue to work the scene, investigators get an update from the hospital. At 10:46 p.m., Botham Jean is pronounced dead from a gunshot wound to the chest.
Unfortunately, Botham Jean lost his life, and this case at that point turned into a homicide case.
You see a dark body, like a silhouette, just standing in the very back. It's dark inside. I can't see anything. And so I say, let me see your hands. The person keeps moving around. I can't see where his hands are going. And so at that point, I feel like you're going to kill me. And I know you're going to kill me. And then at that point, he's moving. And to me, you're advancing. And so I shoot 2 times. Then I walk in. And it's at that point when I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, it's not my home. I was like, I'm at 1478. I live at 1378. I've lived there less than 2 months. I just moved there.
What did he say? Did he say anything?
Then he said, hey, aggressively. And that's all he said. And I said, let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
This particular incident, it's not a whodunit. It's very evident what occurred. What puzzled us is how did this happen and why did this happen? And most importantly, was this a lawful shooting, a lawful use of force, or was this unlawful?
I draw. I said, let me see your hands.
This shooting occurred in a time where there's a lot of divisiveness upon racial lines.
You have an unarmed black man in his own apartment, and you have a white female officer who shot him. How can this just stand and there be no consequences?
At the end of the day, this boils down to Amber Geiger went into what she believed was her apartment. She feared for her life and acted in self-defense, and this was a justified homicide.
Even with her statement for a self-defense claim, based on Texas law, I see a person who admits to shooting another person, and that is murder.
For activists, Botham's killing is the latest in a long national history of racial division and misconduct by police. Protests sweep the streets of Dallas as news of the senseless killing spreads nationwide. Under mounting public scrutiny, the Texas Rangers complete their investigation. 3 days after the shooting, they submit their findings, and the Dallas PD arrests Amber Geiger.
She was arrested for felony offense of manslaughter. She booked into jail and was bonded out within an hour or so on a bond of $300,000.
I think that was probably the only appropriate charge that they could have done. Because you have to remember, manslaughter is just, were they negligent or reckless? Some people could say that she was reckless and she was negligent, that she could have done things different that would have prevented it.
The news came on that Amber Geiger was arrested for manslaughter, but I never accepted this charge. My quest was to seek a murder conviction for the person who took my son away.
There were remarkable differences in the 3rd floor and the 4th floor that Officer Geiger was in the position to observe. As she enters the hallway, you have different decor. On her floor, there is this potted plant. It really stands out. That plant, of course, was not on the 4th floor. But to me, the most remarkable landmark that she missed was a bright red floor mat in front of Botham Jean's apartment. Officer Geiger doesn't have any type of floor mat in front of her apartment. None. How anyone can miss that is beyond me.
Once Amber Geiger ended her shift and left the police department, she was on autopilot, just like anyone else who has a tough day at work. We also know that the Rangers interviewed hundreds of people that lived in that apartment, and a high percentage of them had either parked on the wrong floor, gotten off on the wrong floor and walked to their door, or even entered the wrong apartment.
The difference is that nobody had ever fired a gun at a homeowner, and there were so many other options she could have chosen. And in fact, what their training tells them to do is to call for backup, back out, seek a position of cover and concealment, and wait for backup to arrive. But that wasn't happening here.
They turned to her mobile phone for clues around the time she shot both and John. Their search uncovers highly suspicious activity.
What we learned is that Officer Geiger had deleted text messages after he'd just been shot.
Why are you deleting evidence? What are you trying to hide?
Investigators learned she had a prolonged phone call with her partner at the Dallas PD. The call ended just minutes before the encounter.
She was on the phone for over 16 minutes with her partner, who there's evidence that she was in a relationship with. We don't know what that conversation was, but we know that prior to that there was some sexting. They were planning to meet even later that evening. So it wasn't like she was on her way home to go to bed. I mean, it's clear that, for lack of a better word, she's preoccupied.
Even more concerning to investigators is mobile phone evidence of a possible cover-up after the shooting.
Officer Geiger had deleted text messages to the same partner that she had communicated with that evening. One of them said, and I'm paraphrasing, "I need you, hurry up." But the second one was that I effed up. I effed up, in my opinion, is a pretty revealing statement as to her realizing what she did was wrong. But secondly, what was more alarming to me is that they were deleted.
She's an officer.
Investigators go further back into Amber's text history and uncover more troubling exchanges.
We discovered text messages that were racist. Text messages about pepper spraying protesters at the Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade, about her fellow police officers who were black. Can I say that she shot and killed Bo because she's racist and he was a black man? Absolutely not. I can't say that. But it does call into question. It just makes you wonder about implicit biases.
I strongly believe if she opened the door and saw another white female or white male, she probably would have asked questions.
This man never had a record.
What are you doing here? If Amber Geiger asked my brother one question, he would still be here. But she didn't.
The grand jury returned an indictment of murder, and that for me was the first phase of justice for both of them.
Why did you fire?
Y'all remember this one, right? What his brother did?
So I was scared. I was scared this person said what was going to do to me.
She started crying and going on, and that made me feel even worse. I believe her responses to her attorney was orchestrated.
The theme that I saw was more pity for herself than pity for Bo's family and the fact that she took that life.
Following the defense's questioning, the state steps up to cross-examine Amber.
As a defense lawyer, you're on pins and needles, hoping that the client doesn't get walked into a trap. As the questioning is unfolding, I can see where the prosecutor is going.
You said you saw him walking.
Yes.
Coming towards you.
Yes.
That's when you decided to shoot twice.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you were intending?
Yes, sir.
She's got that deer in the headlights look. She's starting to just agree with everything he says, which as a lawyer, you know, is a red flag.
When you shot at Mr. John, you knew you were using deadly force against him.
Yes.
And when you shot at him twice, you intended to kill him.
Yes, sir.
She told the jury, she told everyone in that courtroom that she intentionally shot both of John to kill him. You can present all the evidence in the world. There's nothing stronger.
A guilty verdict in this case does not mean you hate police. This has to do with that defendant making unreasonable decisions that put her in that seat and Bo in the ground.
We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Amber Geiger, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment.
We hear guilty for murder. You just think, final, it's the right decision. It's the right decision. You have to show that this can't go unpunished, that Bo's life mattered, and that he deserved justice.
She'll be paroled in 2024 next year. Yeah, he's black, and his dad was really upset. He had to go back to St. Croix, you know. I mean, it really messed his dad up, you know, that his son passed away because their dad lived in St. Croix, but even though they live in America, his daughter's in America, but they're from St. Croix. But that's the one family. Now we're going to go to another family. Got shot by police.
I really love when a guy smells like a man.
I couldn't keep my hands up
And I think they from. I think he's from. I don't know what country they're from.
Wars, the
but
inventor
I think
of the
they
world's
Congo or
first attraction club.
Senegalese.
And today,
War on Ukraine a little later, but in the United States, videos have emerged of a police officer fatally shooting a black man in the back of the head as he lay face down on the ground. Footage
He's a black
shows
man.
Patrick Lyoya
That's how they
running
refer
from a
you
white
here.
officer. The two men were then involved in a
Not your
struggle over a
nationality.
taser. You may find some of the images
Black
in Tim
man.
Ullman's report disturbing.
Grand Rapids, Michigan, earlier this month. Police stop a car being driven by 26-year-old Patrick Lyoya. The two men get out of their vehicles in what appears to be a fairly routine interaction, but that's when things start to go wrong.
I'm stopping you. Do you have a license?
What the?
Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What have you got?
The plate doesn't belong on this car. Do you have a license or no?
The officer repeatedly asks to see Patrick Lyoya's driving license, which he says is inside the car. But then he closes the door and appears to try and walk away.
No. Stop. Put your hands right.
The policeman tries to stop him. There's a struggle, and Mr. Lyoya runs off. He's caught, and they both fall to the ground. They get back up again. The officer has pulled out his taser, which they then fight over.
Let go of the taser!
At this point, according to police, the officer accidentally turned off his body camera. By now, the passenger in Patrick Lyoya's car was filming the incident on his phone. Then, the police officer appears to shoot Mr. Lyoya in the back of the head.
When I saw the video, it was painful to watch, and I immediately asked, what caused this to happen? And what more could have been done to prevent this from occurring?
Where do we want? Justice! Where do we want it? Now!
Following the release of this footage, hundreds of people gathered peacefully outside the headquarters of the local police department. Not for the first time in America, there are demonstrations following the death of a black man killed by a white policeman. The officer in question has not been named and is on paid leave while state police investigate whether to bring charges. Patrick Lyoya was a son, a brother and a father. Grand Rapids police chief said he viewed his death as a tragedy. Tim Ullman.
And they didn't show his parents, but yeah, they say he's black, but you hear he got an accent. But this was really something. Now, there was an Ethiopian family in Washington State. Watch what they did. No, Ethiopian girl and her brother. This what happened to them.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new around here on my channel, my name is Harmon. Today's video, I'm documenting the really unfortunate, tragic case of a 13-year-old girl named Hannah Williams who died here in Cedar Woolley, Washington. And in this video, I'm going to document all the details about this case, which are incredibly tragic. Really, really one of those cases that actually hit me pretty hard, actually. And not many cases do that, but this one in particular really, really rattled me and hit me hard. I'm going to show you her grave here in Cedar Woolley. Now, Cedar Woolley, Washington is about an hour and a half north of Seattle. So Hannah Grace Rose Williams was born in Ethiopia. She was Ethiopian, and she was born there on June 19th, 1997. And she passed away here in Cedar Woolley on May 12th, 2011. Again, she was 13 years old, but she was adopted by a couple named Larry and Carrie Williams. And the Williams actually had a total of 9 children. 7 were of their own children, and then they adopted 2 other children from Ethiopia, and one of those adopted kids was Hannah. So Emmanuel, the other child that they adopted from Ethiopia, was actually deaf. Anyway, so the Williams, they ran their household as a very, very devout, fundamentalist Christian household. They didn't really allow the children to watch TV, have the internet, or really even socialize with any other kids. They kind of kept to themselves. They wouldn't really let their children go out of the house very often, and they wouldn't really let them hang out with any of their friends. But when they did go out on occasion on walks, the neighbors described seeing the family, Larry, Carrie, and the 7 children kind of towards the front, but they would always see Emmanuel and Hannah always in the back, like trailing far, far behind the rest of the family. They figured out that it's because Larry and Carrie absolutely hated Hannah, and they really didn't like Emmanuel either. And so you always wonder, like, how could anyone treat their children that way, let alone, their 2 adoptive children? You spent all that time, energy, and money to adopt these 2 children from Ethiopia, and yet you treat them like absolute garbage. It pisses me off, and it boggles my mind how anyone could do that. So reading different trial transcripts and court documents, I read that Hannah's daily life consisted of punishments that continued to escalate every single day. So Larry and Carrie would punish her basically on a daily basis, and it would continue to just get worse and worse and worse. And so some of the punishments that I read included they would lock her in a barn by herself on the property. After that happened, they locked her in a dark, shower room in the actual house. And then lastly, they locked her in a 4x2 closet for basically the last 6 months of her life before she ultimately died. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. It gets, unfortunately, a lot worse from there. On a different occasion, Larry and Carrie actually accused Hannah of smearing her menstrual blood all over the bathroom, and so as a different punishment, they forced her to use the outhouse, which they set up outside, far away from the house itself. But they didn't service the outhouse very often, maybe once a year. And so this outhouse was absolutely disgusting. And so they forced her to use that outhouse on a daily basis instead of the normal bathroom that all the other children got to use in the house.
Which is their children.
They also wouldn't let her use the actual shower inside as well, and so they forced her to take a shower by using a hose out in the front yard. And so while all the other kids were inside being able to take showers, she was forced to stand out in the front yard and use a garden hose for her shower. They also wouldn't speak to Hannah sometimes for up to 2 or 3 days at a time. So while she was intermittently locked in, the closet or the barn outside, they sometimes wouldn't talk to her for 2 to 3 days at a time. To kind of continue with the story, Larry and Carrie would also make Hannah and Emmanuel eat different food than the rest of the 7 children. They would make them eat like cold leftovers, and also I guess they would make them sandwiches sometimes, but they would soak them intentionally in water. So literally every single aspect of Hannah's life, in terms of bathing, using the bathroom, eating, where she had to sleep every night, all that was controlled by her parents, and it was obviously to the point of child abuse. So the actual events that led up to Hannah's death took place on May 11th, 2011, into the early morning hours of May 12th, 2011, as her death date was considered May 12th, 2011. But anyway, on that late evening into the early morning hours of May 12th, Hannah was again forced to be outside in the cold, rainy weather. She was severely underweight at that time, and she had bruises all over her body, including numerous lacerations from all the beatings that she endured by her parents, while Hannah was out in the dark in the backyard, freezing, barely alive basically at this point. Meanwhile, her mom, Carrie, and the 8 other siblings were looking through the window, peering out at her, just watching her suffer. So because of her extreme lack of nutrition, the fact that she was severely underweight, and because she was forced to be outside in the freezing cold, Hannah had actually developed what's called hypothermic paradoxical undressing while staggering and thrashing around. Basically meaning that she was kind of becoming almost like delusional and was, just not in her right mind because of all that. And so she actually ended up undressing herself and thrashing around on the ground, actually ended up falling several times and hitting her head. And so she was, completely deteriorating by the hour. Hannah had again fallen one last time face down into the mud. And at that point, her mom, Carrie, finally came out and was actually pissed at Hannah because she was now naked in the backyard, face down. And so she ended up getting a bed sheet, and she asked her 2 teenage sons to help carry her body back into the house. She called her husband, Larry, who at that point was working at Boeing, and called 911 and told them that, "I think my daughter just killed herself. She's really rebellious." That is what Carrie told the 911 operator. So after several hours, finally Hannah was brought to the hospital. However, she was pronounced dead there at the hospital. Hannah's cause of death was determined to be hypothermia compounded by malnutrition and gastritis. What led to Larry and Carrie finally being arrested was an anonymous tip came in about 2 months later after Hannah had passed away. And the anonymous tip told the police department that Carrie didn't like her adoptive children, and that Emmanuel was starting to be treated just like Hannah had been. So finally, Larry and Carrie were arrested. They were brought to trial for Hannah's murder. They were both convicted of manslaughter. Carrie ended up receiving a sentence of 37 years in prison, and her husband Larry received a sentence of 28 years in prison. The article also states that Larry and Carrie were also charged with assault, as again they were starting to do the same abuse towards Emmanuel, again the other boy that they adopted from Ethiopia. They were assaulting him. The remainder 8 children were adopted out and given to some relatives. It doesn't state specifically if they all went to one particular relative or if they all got kind of split up. This case, again, it really struck a nerve with me because, again, I was adopted, and just knowing that, Hannah went through so much torture and physical and mental abuse from the people that adopted her and that were supposed to love her, that to me just really, really makes me upset. Once again, guys, if you're new around here, my name is Harmon. Go around the country filming different...
I'm going to stop right there. Now, what did the people that look like that did this to her? Did it look like us? Did the black Americans do these last cases? Who murdered them? I'm just using that as an example. What did the people look like that murdered them? But yet you see what we're talking about? You have to watch who you come over here. And when we say, hey, when black Americans some of us try to reach out to you, and you see someone was a protest over your death, and it hurts us sometimes when some of you, when we going through something, it's almost like you guys deserve it. And I'm not talking about the immigrants over in the native countries. I'm talking about the ones that get over here with this mindset. Now you see. But it gets even. You think that's something. So that was a couple cases, right? And you can break it down. We ain't have to break it down. What country? What did they say? What did the news reporter in Britain say? They were black. They ain't say what country that they came from. What ethnic group they were black. That's how you were seen in America. But next story. You were seen as black. Don't matter you from the islands. It don't matter you from Africa. It don't matter you, as long as you got hair like mine and skin similar to mine, nose like mine, lips like mine, you're black. Whether you like it, you can even be even Hispanic black. And you got some people in the Hispanic. They see you as black in America.
One step closer to justice for the Giles family. Two 16-year-olds accused of starting the fire that killed 5 members of the same family will now be tried as adults. This is our first look at those 2 suspects who now face 60 felony counts.
There is a third, a 15-year-old suspect, still being charged as a juvenile. And today, what is left of that charred house was torn down. Number 7's Gary Broad reports.
It's a Senegalese family.
These 2 16-year-olds just became adults in the court's eye, and they're now facing dozens of charges in the August house fire that killed 5 people, including 2 children.
It's a crime that even many adults would never think of committing, right? So I think anybody who can come around to committing that deserves to get the book thrown at them.
Kevin Bowie and Gavin Seymour, both 16-year-olds, are facing charges for a fire that killed Jabril and Aja Joel and their 2-year-old daughter, Kaja, along with Jabril's sister, Hassan, and her infant daughter, Hawa. Amadou Jang says every time new information is brought to light in the case of his friend's murder, he relives that horrible night.
We just go right back to that day. It's as if it had just happened. I know, it's the way I felt when we got the information on Wednesday. I remember going to bed at night just feeling confused, right? It was just, why would this happen? Why would it happen to GB and his family? And then why would this crime be committed by such young kids?
Bowie and Seymour are being charged with 60 felonies, including first-degree murder. A 15-year-old was also arrested and is charged with 47 felony counts. His name has not been released, as his case will be referred to the juvenile courts. But the district attorney is requesting that he also be tried as an adult.
There is a lot that still doesn't make sense. And I think until we have answers to all of those questions, then we still are a long way to go in this process of healing.
Jang tells me now the police claim that they have the people responsible for the fire, the family and friends, now want to know the how, and maybe more importantly here, the why. Reporting live here in Green Valley Ranch, Gary Brode, Denver 7.
Such a tragedy. Thank you, Gary.
What did the people look like? What did they look like? Oh, you think that was something? That was in Colorado. This next case, this Jamaican guy died mysteriously.
Let me ask you a question. How would you like to have your very own OF management agency in the next 7 days, all set up, ready to go, making monthly profits like...
Let's go to Pennsylvania, folks, where there's a strange story. A Jamaican family desperately seeks answers after their relative was shot several times during a hunting trip with co-workers. Peter Bernardo Spencer was reportedly shot at least 9 times in December. Spencer was dropped by his fiancée for a hunting trip with a colleague who reached out to him on Snapchat. A few hours later, the 29-year-old was dead. A 25-year-old man was taken into custody. 3 other individuals and multiple guns were found at the scene, but no charges have been filed. William Anderson is chair of the Allegheny Democratic Black Caucus. He joins us right now. William, I'm trying to understand. He goes hunting, he ends up dead, and nothing?
Nothing. And thank you, Roland, for having me on to shed light on this situation. You know, it's very tragic. And, you know, as you said in your former comments, that, you know, this is just what happens to blacks in America. So on December 11th, Peter, he wasn't going hunting. He was going to the woods to hang out with some friends at, usually he assumed he was going to Nathan Meyer's mother's house. So his fiance usually dropped him off at Nathan Meyer's mother's house on several occasions, usually with friends. But on this occasion, she drops him off at it was either a cabin or a mobile home in the woods of Venango County. And this was very strange to her because, you know, it was such a desolate area that she couldn't even ping Peter's location once she dropped him off.
So is there an investigation? And who's leading the investigation?
So allegedly, the Venango County District Attorney, his name is D. Sean White. He's in charge of the investigation and has been leading the investigation since December 12th, when Peter Spencer was murdered. And also, the PA State Troopers Heritage Affairs Department, which investigates hate crimes, is also involved in the investigation. But we haven't gotten any information on what they're doing, and it's been since December 12th, and there has been no arrest, no one has been charged or anything.
Are state officials involved in this? I mean, are folks being interviewed? I mean, brother just goes out and ends up shot 9 times and dead? Has there been a ruling from the medical examiner? Have they ruled his death a homicide? Obviously. Yes, sir. The medical examiner of Venango County ruled Peter Spencer's death a homicide almost, I think, immediately. So we, you know, as Venango County is a small county, you know, it's a Republican-controlled rural county in Pennsylvania, where all of the people, a lot of the insurrectionists from January 6th, this is their breeding ground. You know, Western Pennsylvania is the breeding ground for all of these people. So we haven't gotten any cooperation, although it has been not only, you know, declared a homicide, but they had suspects in custody that admitted to shooting him, and they were released. Whoa. The suspects admitted to shooting him?
Yes, they said there was some type of altercation, and they shot Peter in self-defense 9 times, which in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you know, you cannot declare self-defense, 1, if you can flee the danger, and 2, you cannot declare self-defense when you shoot someone 9 times. This young man was shot twice above his butt, 5 times in his back, once in his neck, that went through his neck and broke his jaw and once in his chest close range. And no charges have been filed against anyone since December 12th. This is outrageous.
Were all 9 shots from the same gun?
We haven't gotten any information to be able to come to that conclusion because they aren't cooperating. They aren't giving the investigators, the attorneys any information. They aren't giving the family any information, and they have yet to respond to our requests as the Democratic Black Caucus and the Black Political Empowerment Project for information. And the only help that we've gotten was from Chandy Chapman, our local reporter here, an African-American female on our WTA local station, was the only one to even investigate this and to help shine light on this. So we just thank you for giving us national attention so we can get justice for Peter.
Has the family had an independent autopsy done?
Yes, sir. And we not only have we had an independent autopsy done, but the autopsy was done by Dr. Sir Weck. And Dr. Sir Weck is one of the most famous coroners in the entire world. So he completed his autopsy on January 3rd. And Dr. Weck, in an interview on our WTAE with Chandy Chapman, told her that he'd never seen an incident like this in his entire career, when someone has been shot 9 times and shot in the back and no charges have been filed.
This is absolutely crazy. So certainly keep us abreast, William, of what happens. Stay in contact with us. We certainly want to follow this story, but you don't get shot 9 times, and again, like, what was his fingerprints on any of the weapons? How many guns were recovered? First of all, how many people were on the scene? That's just absolutely crazy.
Yes, sir. We know that there were at least 4 white men that were there on the scene.
4 white men
on the scene with guns. There's an altercation, and only one person ends up dead, and nobody else shot.
Exactly.
And they're walking around free.
Yes, sir. They weren't. I don't believe they were in custody longer than an hour. This young man is dead. His family has gone through the holidays and have to restart their life. And I just want to reiterate that this young man was not an American citizen. He had only been in this country since 2013. Seeking the American dream.
Has the Jamaican embassy demanded, because obviously he's a Jamaican national, have they demanded the federal authorities get involved?
Yes. So we had a Zoom meeting with 20 members of the Jamaican government yesterday from all over the country. And they are outraged in this. And the Prime Minister will be making a public statement demanding that America be held accountable for this, because America owes Jamaica a life. Right? This young man was 29 years old. His future was bright. He came to this country, seeking the Purple Mountain's majesty. Amber waves of grain. All these things that our anthem, promises the world. And he came here in his life. He's been here for 8 years. And his life is over.
Who has the family hired to be their attorney?
They've hired. I don't know the attorney's name offhand, but I can get that to you. And they're going to get a team. They're going to have a team of attorneys to represent him, because no one attorney is going to be able to handle this. Because, like I said, this is pre-Jim Crow.
Got it.
What happens when the prostate enlarges?
You hear that? You hear that? Why we say what we say? Now you see what we go through? For some of you that don't think that, that's just the past. Don't happen in the present. You people just making it up. Why don't you let things be bygone? You see that things don't repeat itself from the past? But the reason why, because
that's good, everybody.
This Nigerian woman has
Shane D. Jackson. Back at it again.
And even though I don't listen to Tariq like that, but he had to put her in check.
Celebrity Junk. Recently, I got a notification that Brother Tariq Nasheed put up about a Nigerian caller. I believe that's a Nigerian or Ghanaian accent. I bet it's Nigerian. A sister called in to debate the issue about Jordan Neely. Now, of course, it's a very interesting call. It does get a little personal. I'll try to cut it off before it gets too personal. But I'd like to play the interaction between Brother Tariq and the sister, and then I'm going to come back.
What's her name? Theo? Thello? Let's get Thello in here.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Thello.
Yeah, so I just heard about the Jordan Neely case. I was up on Twitter this morning and I saw some tweets about it. Of course, different perspectives. There seems to be some kind of outrage from black people about him being lynched or something like that. Of course, I was grieved, yeah, but then I saw the other aspects of the story, of the fact that he was a repeat offender. I think 40 plus arrests. He had tried assaulting a 67-year-old woman at some point, and some days before that, he had tried to push someone up the tracks. So obviously, he was violently inclined. And there have been cases of homeless people, people like this, stabbing people in trains and doing like terrible things. So apparently, from what I saw online, they said that people all agreed that there was a statement he made that he was going to hurt anyone or something like that. He was erratic, he was dangerous basically. And from the video I saw like 3 people trying to restrain him, including the guy who had him in like a chokehold or something. It seems to me that, I mean, if 3 people were needed to restrain that kind of person, and I know it can be pretty hard to restrain a person, then it didn't seem so. And apparently they had already like called authorities, but it was taking time and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, like, why then is there so much outrage? It seems to me that people are ignoring some facts and not being very fair. I mean, especially people who are demanding that the white guy should be killed. I saw a guy there that looked black to me who was there restraining as well. So I'm wondering, like,
he was a non-foundational black American man. He was one of you. He wasn't from our lineage, the guy who was restraining him. And
so you think that if it was someone like you, it would have been different? He would not have been restraining? Yeah. You really believe that?
If it was somebody like me, ma'am, he would not have been killed. I guarantee you, he would not have been killed if I was there. I guarantee. You know why?
I'm not talking about you. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm saying the black guy in America. The person is acting violent, and he needs to even join the other guy to restrain. You really believe if there's a threat to life, you are suddenly going to
What was the threat to life, ma'am?
If there had to be 3 people to restrain, the guy was. Was he calm? Was he calm and resisting? Why did there have to be another guy holding him down? Had he calmed down?
Because they were killing him. That's why.
Killing him?
And they killed him. They were killing him. That's why they had to hold him down.
You are ignoring obvious facts because you want to push an agenda. That's what I see there. You're ignoring obvious facts. It's just like the judge, for example, the George Floyd case. When I saw the full video, I saw how much he resisted arrest, how hard it was for them to hold him down. Nobody talked about that. They just show one side of the video. I saw how hard it was to restrain someone like George Floyd. It was incredibly difficult. We don't talk about that. Why don't we talk about that? He was also a repeat offender. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the fact that we turned him into a martyr. Someone that was hurting people.
Umbutu. You're from Nigeria. Where are you living now, ma'am?
I'm living in Nigeria.
You're still in Nigeria?
Yeah, still in Nigeria.
Okay. Is your significant other white?
No. And why does it matter? Why are you asking me these questions?
Because why are you sucking up to white people?
I'm not sucking up. I'm being objective. The one thing that you don't want to be, obviously. And you call that
so, ma'am,
you can actually answer my questions, my reasonable questions. The next thing you want to do is pretend that I have bias. That's all you have up your sleeves. You don't have any real trying to make it look like you're talking up to white people. Why don't?
So, you heard that interaction. Let me just say this. I'm not gonna make this an African American versus African thing or versus another race thing. Because to be fair, it's a lot of brothers and sisters in the black community talking like this. And I'm talking about the African American community that would take her side. The guy had 40 arrests. The guy had, recently had hit some lady. The lady said that on the podcast here, he tried to push somebody else off the ramp. And about 7 years ago, I would have felt the same way as her. I would have been like, look, this is a brother out here waiting to cause a problem. He probably gonna hurt somebody else. The brother's crazy. Somebody need to deal with her. I would have thought like that until I personalized it. And I had to I would have thought like that until I personalized it. And I had to personalize it as an African American, as a person that loves black people. I want my people to have a chance to live. This is just me personally. Was the brother dangerous? Yes. Was the brother being mentally incompetent? Yes. Did the brother have a warrant out for his arrest? Yes. But did the brother deserve to die? No. That other person that was restraining the young man, and I'm talking about this white Marine. Here's what we're not dealing with. The Marine did not know that this man had 40 arrests. And when we use that argument, we just don't know. Like, we're talking about something like, we don't know what we're talking about there. All right? The guy didn't know. He didn't know. So if he didn't know, then we need to be quiet. We really need to be quiet. Because at the same time, if you see a crazy person, you don't know what they've been going through. It could have been their first day being crazy. So we shouldn't leverage off of what the guy was doing, because the guy that killed him didn't know him. He didn't know what he was doing. All right? Now, what I want to say is, should he restrain him? Yes. Yes. Should you manhandle him? Yes. But kill him like all those people? And she was talking about the fact that, it took all these people to restrain him. That guy was already restrained. He couldn't move for the most part. Exactly. He was trying to fight back, but what was the point? It didn't need to take all that.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with the fact that he's doing bad. We're not dealing with the fact that he's dangerous. We're not dealing with the fact that he's wrong or right. I'm dealing with the fact that the guy got killed and he didn't deserve to die. Right. From what I see, I don't care about what he did in the past, because we're not talking about that. That got nothing to do with what happens there. I'm dealing with the guy came on there saying some threatening things, saying some crazy things. The guy didn't hit anybody. He didn't attack anybody. Did he make somebody feel uncomfortable? Yes. Has he done that to other people? Yes. But that don't give that Marine the right to kill the guy. He can restrain him until the police get there.
Right.
All three of those guys can restrain him. If you need to hit him and restrain him, that's different. You ain't got to kill him. That's all I'm saying. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson.
See, this is what kind of put the wedge, because it's a double standard. And black Americans have always, when we come for anybody, we the first one out there on the line. When anybody that looks similar, whether it's here or whether it's from the continent, we always out there in numbers to fight and protest. But when it comes to us, it seems like people just, all of a sudden, it's like, you guys are on your own, screw you. And this is what causing the division. When someone get to America, come over here from America, and you think you don't know the system until you become a victim of it, and you see the injustice in the system. And a lot of these people that come from these different places, like her, don't know. They keep their head down and they keep it moving. But when something happened where it's somebody from their country come across, and you know this person, and they come across a racist person, then what you gonna say? Then what they gonna say then? Because when you see them other case, it wasn't provoked like the first case. That man was a Christian man. He never had a record. None of the people that died before that never had a record. They killed them. And then the Jamaican man, them men still scot-free to this day. But these are the same people that woman will sit up there and defend. That's why he said that. trying to justify a black American's death. Then he says it's not about, yes it is. Because of what they program you online and program you on TV. Yes it is. But when somebody, we don't say nothing. When one of them other people died from over there, from the continent to the Caribbean, we don't say nothing. We don't sit back there and laugh and grovel. We don't sit up there and say, well, he should have did this. If he should have did that, what did he do to make the white guys mad? What did that Ethiopian child do? See, we don't say stuff like that. But we have more compassion. In fact, we get angry just about as angry or not angry and ready to do something. That's what black Americans do. That's what we do. When we see, most of us see injustice, we'll speak up on it and we'll take it to a whole different level. But now you see, in 4 cases, and that's why I made the video, because of what that woman says. And George Floyd, that he was properly restrained. The man you trying to justify a man putting a knee on someone's neck. He had his neck on, he had his knee on his neck until he urinated on himself. You didn't see the whole doggone story. He urinates on himself. And I don't care what, like I said, I don't care what his past was, but he didn't deserve to die like that. Just like anywhere else in the world, nobody deserved to be put restrained to the point that they kneel on you till you die, take your last breath. But it's okay though. Okay, until it happened to one of your people. Until I would say it to someone like her, then it's all a given story. And see, the reason why Tariq said that, because some people get very tribal and say, don't equate me to them black Americans over there. Don't equate me to those black Americans over there. And there's some people come in the United States with that mindset until something happened to one of their fellow citizens from white people, some white people. And now they went over to their country and adopted that girl. And they roll out the royal carpet for them. They roll out the royal carpet, and you see how when they get them back here, you see what happened. And that ain't the first time. It's been Haitians that went through that. That ain't the first time that happened. We try to tell you, but you won't listen to us. You think that we asking for something that we don't. This is what we live this. We see this from what that child went through out in Washington State. Imagine 400 years of that crap. That's what we went through. And that's what they did all over the United States. So don't tell me that's the past. Don't tell me what happened to that baby out there, that Ethiopian child. You immigrants gotta understand, this happened long ago and still was still happening. Then after slavery, during Jim Crow, during redlining, and there were people that get caught and was put on slavery. They did this to a part black. They did this to a black woman who had in West Virginia about this. Made her eat dog crap. Don't tell me it's not about the past. Don't you tell me say that. That's why we get insulted. Some people come over with that hindsight, and I had to show you from America's side. See, you want to be around the folk, but you don't know all them folks out there. Did a black American do something? Did that? Was a black officer that shot him in the back of the head? Was a black when Spencer went out there? Was it 4 black? No, we didn't do that. We had nothing to do with that. But yet you have disdain for us. Some of you come over here with disdain. And just like anybody else, and I know that there were some good families that come over here, have the American dream. But you see what them boys did? They burned them up alive. What did we ever do to you? Did any black American ever do that to you? And then we fight for you when we see injustice like that. We fight for you when it's injustice. Now you see. Now you see from this video. Now you see how America really is. When listen to us when we try to tell you. We ain't a bunch of lazy, oh, you stuck in the past. You don't want to get off your butt and work. We heard about you guys. Next time, show your family this. Show the video this. What they treat. And didn't they just go along? They kept their head down and did what they're supposed to do. They wasn't around us. You kept your head down and did your work and just do what you gotta do. But you see how the way it was? Then people didn't care. Then people didn't care. Then people that murdered those people, they didn't care. They didn't see what nationality of country in the Caribbean came from, or the islands, or part of the continent of Africa. They saw you as black. This is what we try to tell you. You try to make it a separate division, and even if you're black Spanish, like Dominican, whatever, they see you as black. Cause some of you got that problem too. Yeah, but with the color conversation, you want to count yourself as black. Not in America, you don't. You move into certain parts of this country, you find out real quick how you're not of these people. I told you, like I said in the past, you don't know America. You don't know how some people are here. And you think that the criminal, what they show you on TV, that's the least of your problem, the ones in the city. It's those ones out there where you try to go safety. It's the ones that never been around other people from a different part of the world, let alone coming from a different part outside the United States. We try to tell you, some of them are like that. Not everybody out there, but some people are like that. I'm trying to tell you, America has a spirit of racism. It's embedded in it. We try to tell you that. You don't want to listen. You think that, oh, you guys just, I've heard comments, oh, you guys just live in, if you just pull yourself by your bootstrap. And plus me, black Americans have pulled it by bootstrap, invented the bootstrap. Now you see how injustice is. Now you see. And some of you going to see more of that. And it won't be from us. It won't be from us. So keep talking crazy to us. When you get over here, you'll find out. Get outside the city where you at. The state where you at. Across the United States. You'll see. You'll see what we talking about. Us black Americans talking about. The ones you said that was slow, lazy. They don't have, they broke and they ain't nothing. You'll see. You'll see. And when we get on our feet, we're gonna remember what you said. Some of us gonna remember. We're gonna remember how you treated us. I'm telling you. Some of us already turned their backs on you because of this. Because what that woman said. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen. And this is not to be against, but you need it. You know, hey, and I met some nice people from different parts of the world. But you know, but that's why I say it ain't addressed to everybody, but it's to the ones that got that ignorant mentality. That think that everything's in the past. You guys are exaggerating things. That wouldn't happen to us. You're not back in your homeland. You don't know. You don't know. On the American side, I don't know how it is over in England and France and other places, but America has its own brand of racism. We try to tell you. We tried to tell you. And hopefully, some of you younger people who ain't like that, you better show your parents this video. Who are the ones who are like that. Show the ones that like that. But these immigrants in America, I want them to see it, and other ones like who come over with that mindset. I want them to see this. I want them to see this video. Because we don't be making stuff like this up. You see the injustice. It has nothing to do with how hard you work or how educated you are or what class you are. It's about the color of your skin with some people here in the States. And it's a spirit of racism. Even though we all equally good by God, but some people don't find it equally good. They say that, and the reason why they put on a face when they come over to your part of the world, because they want something out of you. Some of them do. They don't. Some don't come with the good reason. Come with the love of God. Some people don't. That's all what I'm saying. Listen to us. We know. We've been in this country for almost 500 years. We know how the way they roll. We can tell you if you listen to us. We tell you how to survive America. We teach you. If you can't ignore us, it is what it is. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, share this with your friends and family. This is injustice. It has nothing to do with African. Like he said, it's not about African versus African. Because the mainstream don't care about that. Mainstream other ethnic groups don't care about that. They'll join up with them and come against you too. They'll make like they're your friend. Even when y'all both came over here into this country. Ain't about that. Everybody pick up the same because they see color. That's a fact. Everybody see, and no matter what part of the world, when you have majority of a certain demographic of people, they see color. And they see history and they see color. And they act out on. And then when they say, oh yeah, and I know that these individuals that died, they were good people. They didn't have no record or anything. They come over, hard-working family, just like the young man that gets shot in Missouri. He was in the hood. From the hood, his family probably came from immigrated from some part of Africa or Caribbean too. But you see that man that shot him, he didn't care about that. The boy accidentally knocked on the guy's house. We try to tell you, but you don't listen. Anyway, we don't think we're better than you. We try to embrace you and try to let you know. But it is what it is. You see, and now some of us, a good percentage of Black Americans, have turned their back away from you. Now you in this country, you're gonna have to paddle that ocean your own. Sorry to tell you that. But anyway, this ain't about a division. It's just about awakening what you say and be careful what you say to us. Alright then, take care.